Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, November 22nd, 2023. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what you get in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Alaska and Hawaii to the lower left and the U.S. territories on these tabs down here. If you point and click anywhere on this map, it'll bring up a local forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. And a quick check of the map this Wednesday afternoon. We have a departing system up there in Maine in the far northeast, but more importantly, winter weather settling in with some colder air across the northern and central Rockies. There are a number of winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories from parts of eastern Idaho, Montana, down especially across Wyoming, and then dropping into Colorado and the western parts of Kansas and Nebraska. That will likely result in some travel issues there for as we go through tonight and certainly during the day Thursday and even into Friday. But here in Alaska, we do have some potential travel snags, nothing major, but we have a front that's going to be pushing up along the Gulf Coast and pressing inland a bit across the southern mainland, and it's bringing milder air and moisture. And when you have that sort of setup, especially given the cold temperatures we had earlier this past week, it's going to result in a wintry mix that may initially start out as some snow in some areas, but eventually mix in with some freezing rain and then just change over to plain rain, especially in the lower elevations around Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound. But that's going to be the case here as we go through this Wednesday night and during the day on Thursday. And then looking farther ahead, there's going to be another pretty good push of precipitation moving to the Panhandle later this weekend and Monday of next week. And that could bring an increased risk of some landslides there, parts of the Panhandle late Sunday into Monday. Overall, though, we are still looking for temperatures to average above normal, with above normal precipitation across a good chunk of the mainland here as we close out November and start December. And looking at a couple of the different viewpoints here from the FAA webcams, Talkeetna under a winter weather advisory later tonight and especially Thursday morning. There could be some intermittent freezing rain. Temperature right now is at 27 degrees and temperatures are going to be slow to moderate there as this warmer air comes in from the south. You may see snow initially, but then that could mix with and change to a period of light freezing rain. Down in Wrangell, a break in the action, overcast skies, 43 early this afternoon. And of course, you've heard in the news about the deadly landslide that occurred there on Monday evening. And we still have, there were 3 people killed, 3 are still missing, but this landslide came down along the stretch of highway south of Wrangell at mile marker 11, and as a result took out at least 2 homes. And we're watching the weather. Another system's going to come into the Panhandle later Sunday with moderate to heavy rain and gusty winds. Another 1.5 to 3 inches of rain could fall in parts of the Panhandle during that time frame, along with some gusty winds with a frontal system that may gust as high as 35 to maybe just over 50 miles an hour. And that could bring another chance of landslides to parts, especially to the southern Panhandle late Sunday into Monday. So stay tuned to later forecast. And looking at the current hazardous weather situation when it comes to advisories, watches, warnings, we have a variety of winter weather advisories from the southwest around Bristol Bay and the west arm here of the Alaska Range up to about Sleet Mute on over toward Stony River. This includes an area of a little bit of light snow mixed with and changing over to some light freezing rain or rain as we go through this evening and tonight. The emphasis then shifts over here to the Susitna Valley, western Kenai Peninsula as this front works its way north up along and then pushes inland from the Gulf Coast on Thursday. We're going to see precipitation maybe initially start out as a little bit of light snow, but then in the form of rain or light freezing rain or freezing drizzle, including areas of the western Kenai Anchorage Bowl, and then as that shifts further north, then going up the Susitna Valley. The best chance of maybe a couple of tenths of an inch of freezing rain would be on the west side of the Susitna Valley up toward Talkeetna as that warm, moist air rides northward going up the slope toward the Alaska Range. Also areas further east, Copper River Basin toward McCarthy. This area here could also see an icy mix of precipitation as we go through late tonight, and especially on Thanksgiving Thursday. Farther north, along the ridge line there of the Alaska Range and the north side, there could be some strong gusty winds where there is a Wind advisory in effect for wind gusts of 50 to 65 miles an hour being possible there later tonight and into Thanksgiving. Otherwise, the rest stayed relatively quiet, at least for the time being. But here comes the frontal system and push of moisture, this feed of moisture coming in on the North Pacific, aiming right up here along the northwestern northern Gulf. So that's what's going to be feeding that potential for mixed precipitation. The actual low center is, as of this Wednesday afternoon, is just to the south of the central eastern Aleutians. Pretty good deep low there at 956 millibars. That low will slowly lift to the north-northeast, but this front is gradually going to kind of shift northward here tonight and during the day on Thursday. And you see ahead of this front, there's pretty good moisture feed. There's going to be a secondary feed of moisture trying to come up as well as we get into Thursday, Friday. But here is the front late tonight, early on Thanksgiving Day at around 3 in the morning. And notice the front does make progress northward to along the Gulf Coast shoreline up into the southern Kenai. And by the time we get into Thursday afternoon, the front's slowly kind of weakening, but just kind of sitting there up along the Gulf Coast in through middle Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula. And as that mild air overrides the frontal boundary, it's going to bring in warmer air aloft. You'll likely see temperatures, say, along Hillside in Anchorage getting above freezing. And that may lead to just plain old rain, but the ground is cold. We had temperatures below zero last weekend and early this week. So when that rain hits the cold ground, it's still going to be icy. And by the time we get into Friday, that front finally just kind of pushes a little farther inland and just washes out as a trough. But there's still just a general southerly flow of moisture coming in off the Gulf. So this is going to produce some areas of light precipitation. We're not expecting any big precipitation with this setup, but late in the weekend, by the time we get into Sunday and Monday, there's going to be another low come up with a slug of moisture out of the North Pacific, and that's going to take aim on the Panhandle. So be aware in the Panhandle, you could see a renewed round of moderate to heavy precipitation Sunday into Monday, and that's why I mentioned the increased potential perhaps at that time for a chance of some more landslides, especially the southern Panhandle. But in the meantime, temperatures across the Panhandle will generally be above freezing, a little below freezing, especially from, say, Kenai, Soldotna, Anchorage Bowl northward, and especially here in the Copper River Basin up toward Talkeetna. Now, temperatures are going to gradually rise during the day on Thursday, so during the morning hours would be the most likely time with some freezing rain that could impact some travel if you're going to be going to family or friends for Thanksgiving. So keep that in mind. And then out here toward the Panhandle, low mid 40s for highs. We'll get temperatures up to about 44, 45 at both Homer and down toward Kodiak City. And then Friday morning lows should generally be above freezing within Anchorage Bowl and much of the Kenai Peninsula. And areas, though, of the Copper River Basin where the colder air hugs the lower elevations, it will end up prolonging the potential for some mixed precipitation. And even then, Gulkana on Friday afternoon may not get much above freezing or flirt with it, but other areas should see temperatures get above freezing on Friday afternoon across south central and especially along the coast with 40s and even a 50-degree reading possible down here around Klawak and Craig. Now the interior, pretty chilly, not exceptionally cold, but we're going to see sub-zero temperatures, Yukon Flats, Arctic Village, as well as around Northway, single digits along the Arctic coast. And then temperatures Thursday afternoon, notice here as we get just south of Fairbanks on the other side of the Alaska Range, a little downslope might help push temperatures near freezing. But again, come Friday morning, low single digits above and below zero here in Yukon Flats, Brooks Range, North Slope. And reading is a bit warmer around Norton Sound in the mid-20s. And then for Friday afternoon, we are looking for highs to maybe get back up to about 36, Healy, Nenana, and areas that are just on the other side of the Alaska Range. For the southwest interior, temperatures generally below freezing in the 20s, though a little warmer air is creeping up into Bristol Bay, so Dillingham, king salmon may see readings actually rising a bit overnight, so precipitation there should just be quite light and generally transition to maybe just a little bit of light rain if it's still occurring. And then 40s, lower 40s along the Alaska Peninsula, and then this area here we'll see temperatures, the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, I would say 45 to near 50 degrees for Thanksgiving Day. Temperatures creeping up above freezing, Bethel on up toward Anvik. And that would be some of the warmer readings. Friday morning temperatures don't really fall much over this area of the southwest around Kuskokwim, Bristol Bay inland. Areas still in the 40s along the Alaska Peninsula and out toward the eastern Aleutians. And again, even on Friday, temperatures mid-upper 40s, could be an isolated 50-degree reading down here along the Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutians. But temperatures should, again, as you get inland into the southwest interior, you'd see some temperatures from Bethel on up to just south of McGrath in the mid-upper 30s for highs as that push of milder air is forced a little further inland with that decaying front. But looking at the 6 to 10-day temperature outlook, November 28th through December 2nd, is calling for temperatures to average above normal across all of the state. And the greatest likelihood is centered on areas along and north of the Alaska Range, especially the middle upper Yukon Valley, taking things up there through Fairbanks. So we would anticipate, even then, with above normal temperatures, any precipitation that makes it up into the interior could still be in the form of snow. And right now it's looking like the best likelihood for above normal precipitation here in the mainland will be centered on areas along and south of the Alaska Range, including Upper Cook Inlet, Anchorage Bowl, Prince William Sound, Copper River Basin, Talkeetna Mountains. This area here may see precipitation average above normal, and of course, depending on what weather systems come in and what southeast southerly flow we have at the lower levels of the atmosphere, would have a tendency to feed above normal precipitation across the southeastern part of the state.